crushing it inside of ChatGPT, but completely invisible in other AI models? Here's why. Okay, so our good friend Kevin Indig, who we've had on the podcast and is a super smart guy, has just
seen him speak as well.
Yes, a very, very high value speaker. So if you ever get the chance, really smart, really nice, doing some great work in this field. He's just released one of his growth memos with the sort of title, The Consensus Gap, and the hooky statistical tagline that 91% of AI citations show up in only one engine. So a little bit hard to get your head around, but I want to walk through this and have a chat about what we think that he's unearthed and what this could mean for developing an AI visibility strategy going forward. Okay, so new data. This isn't his data. This is data he's analyzed from a study from, I think, the Omnia. Which actually I think is like an AI visibility tool, even though I think he's working with AirOps. But anyway, a study's a study. So new data on 3.7 million citations across ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI overviews suggests it isn't. And the gap between the three engines is wider and more strategically important than your dashboard likely admits. So the first thing that he's saying here is not a good approach to take like a blended visibility score across all the models, because if you're using any form of like blended statistical interpretation of how much AI visibility you have across all the models, in actual fact there is a huge divergence. Like you might have extreme visibility inside of ChatGPT and nothing in the rest. And then page types as well, and domains and how they travel across the engines. So this is really starting to look now at, like, we only had one thing to concern ourselves with, which was Google back in the day. And then you sort of might have like a cursory 12 months look at your visibility inside of Bing.
Wait a second. Are you ruling out Bing and DuckDuckGo? How dare you, sir?
But I mean, it wouldn't matter because 99% of like what mattered was from one place. Now that's been spread, like, even though ChatGPT is like, or has been the dominant, it's not really, because we've got Google AI overviews inside of the Google ecosystem. So it's very, very difficult to find out what's going on. And it's probably a dangerous way to approach it by looking at like a blended tool score. And then the shift from measuring AI presence to measuring portability. So how your content, your brand is ported across different models: ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Google AI overviews. Okay, so let's dive in. One of the biggest differences between AEO and SEO is that AEO plays on more platforms. So this study shows across multiple samples that only 2.35% to 2.45% of cited URLs appeared in ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI overviews for the same prompt, and 91% of citations appeared in only one engine. So, Nick, you explain that back to me, because I think it's a little bit confusing, but actually it does make total sense.
Yeah, so it's saying that if you run a prompt in all three models, it's going to give you the answer, and then you're going to look at the sources, like where did it find that information? And each of the different AI models is different sources. So it's finding the information from different sources. So if you look at ChatGPT and maybe it says, like, we've been talking a lot about medical clinics. So maybe it's pulling from Instagram and Real Self, for example. And then you go to Perplexity and maybe it's found, what is the other, ZocDoc or whatever. There's like, different directories. So it's using different sources. So which means you just can't have one strategy, right? It can't be, it's like you've got to look at each model that's important for you, for your space, and then figure out the sources for each model. So yeah, like you said, it's like if you were trying to optimize for Google, DuckDuckGo, and Bing, like, and they all three had different ways that they ranked sites.
Yeah. So fundamentally, there is like not a big correlation and consensus between what URLs, what citations these different LLMs are choosing to look at.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm curious how much of this is like owned assets. So like, I'd love to see what AI overviews or Gemini, how much they rely on YouTube, since it's in the same family, they're owned by Alphabet. So that could be something, Perplexity, I think it like just searches the web a lot more. So it's, I think, relying on, maybe I'm wrong on that, on what's ranking a little bit more. But yeah, that and what else is interesting is Perplexity is like made it into the mainstream. Like, how crazy is that? You have ChatGPT has like unlimited funding. Claude's not even mentioned here, which is the other, like the second biggest model. No Gemini, no Meta model. Perplexity.
Yeah,
Like when
I use Perplexity a lot. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I've got it as an app. For me, I think it's really fast. It's normally if I'm looking for like, if I want to find something specific, like I've just watched 28 Years Later, and I was confused because there seems to be two films of the same title, but one has like a subtitle. So I just went into Perplexity and said, just give me like all of the 28 Days Later films in order, and it's lightning quick, and you can trust that it's usually pretty accurate because it's just layered on top of another thing. But yeah, that is interesting. Like, people don't use Claude, I don't think, for this sort of purpose. It's more of a coding agent. People have found what LLMs work for what. Yeah.
Now, when we started doing our visibility audits, and we've done several hundred, maybe 400 or 500, we did ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity. And we've dropped Claude because we've kind of come to the conclusion that nobody does research in Claude. It's like maybe the best model out there, but more for coding complex tasks. It's not that it doesn't do research well, it's just people aren't using it for that. Perplexity, I think, is the one that feels most like the search system you're used to. It feels like you're using a search engine, but somebody else is doing the searching for you and the vetting.
Yeah.
Whereas like Gemini and ChatGPT, it's the chat bot. Like, you don't really see what's going on behind the scenes.
That is a great analysis. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like, if I want to have a conversation with a model about like where my life is going and like I need advice,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it Perplexity. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. But yeah, if I want to analyze a 1,000-point study, I'm going to use Claude. Yeah, super interesting. Okay, let's just look through a few more of these findings because this is really interesting. And I love the fact that Kevin says in conclusion, AI visibility is not a single leaderboard. Instead, it's 3 different distribution systems that sometimes overlap, usually do not. And it says here that only 2% of URLs get cited by all 3 engines, which is crazy, isn't it? Considering that like this technology is like developing so synchronistically and in such a similar way. Like, every time the different AI labs drop a new feature, it's like they all drop the same one within a few days. They're also similar, but they're not under the hood functioning in their sort of search, analysis, and retrieval, according to this study, in any way, like in any way that's with any similarity.
Yeah, they definitely all have their own favorite sources.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point what you've said as well, and that would be interesting if somebody did a study on that, or if we were able to analyze like if they are favoring owned assets or things that are within their particular ecosystem. So only 2% of cited URLs show up across all 3 LLMs for the same prompt, and this holds across every cut. So this is what I found really interesting, actually, was this part here. So commercial prompts don't converge either. So intent split is one of the quietest, most useful parts of the data set. You could argue that commercial queries should produce more consensus. When someone searches for the best CRM or best running shoes or best project management software, the pool of acceptable sources feels narrower than it does for broad informational prompts. But surprisingly, the data does not support a big difference. So even with these, and this like intuitively makes sense, doesn't it? What Kevin's like hypothesis is here, that you would have this smaller pool of trusted sources for these like commercial intent prompts, but actually we don't see sort of any significant difference whatsoever.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Okay, and then finally, page types. So what seems to do better cross-model? Tutorials have the highest cross-engine overlap at 2.3%, followed by blogs at 1.8%, category pages at 1.6%, product pages at 1.2%, and home pages at 1.1%. So again, and we've discussed this on previous videos as well, I think these really in-depth sort of guides and tutorials, especially in certain niches, like we did a video recently talking about how if you are going to produce sort of owned asset content, then really, really granular guides and tutorials and content around like different medical procedures that you offer is potentially going to be used as a source or a citation more likely than really specific product pages or category pages. So again, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is like pick a model. What model do you think your prospects are using? That's the one to pay attention to. When we do our audits, we don't even look at AI overviews, and that's because we mostly work with professional services, and our visibility audits are bottom of the funnel prompts. So when someone's actually looking for that, the best this in this city, and that usually it doesn't even trigger the AI overview, so we don't even look at that one. Now it does get triggered in I think in the SaaS space a lot of times. So I think figure out which model your prospects are likely using. And then go focus on those. If they're all pulling from different sources, you don't want to waste your time pulling from a model. And maybe don't look at Claude if you don't think that many of your prospects are actually doing research on that. If you think it's mostly Perplexity and ChatGPT, focus on those.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it's very much like, you want to be optimized for Google. It's still the single biggest place that people will search as like a single point of search, but you got to look at LLMs, I think now, probably more like social media platforms, like find out where your tribe lives, and at least that's the best place to start and then go from there.